Good morning, good morning. Thank you for joining me today. Starting off this morning, I wanted to take a moment to remember General Colin Powell, the first black U.S. Secretary of State who died from complications of COVID at 84 years old yesterday morning. He was a four-star general and served as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff from 1989 to 1993. This fellow native New Yorker was also a soldier for over 30 years, also having spent some time down here at Fort Stewart. His family says that he was fully vaccinated, but was being treated for a blood cancer in his plasma cells that suppresses the body's immune response. I was honored and privileged and considered it one of the high points in my life when I had the opportunity to meet him while he served as Secretary of State during a visit to the U.S. State Department. And I will never forget that day. I will never forget our conversation that day. I will never forget the words of encouragement that he gave me. He was a gentleman, a soldier, a scholar, a statesman, a humanitarian, and a legend. And I'm thankful for leaders and trailblazers like General Powell for providing an example that we all can look up to and live by. We also honor the memory of Ed Filer, who passed away early Wednesday morning after a long battle with Parkinson's disease, and he was 86 years old. Mr. Fowler was the first president of Leadership Savannah after it was reestablished in 1975, and in my mind, he was equity, inclusion, and diversity personified. As a proud graduate of Leadership Savannah, I had the opportunity to know Mr. Fowler and benefit from his wisdom and his benevolence. And so our condolences are extended to his wife, Jane, a trailblazer in her own right, and their 3 children. And we ask that his memory be a blessing. We continue to have various incidents of random gun violence around our community. And while we can certainly continue to point fingers and assign blame for a national trend that we are witnessing here locally, it comes down again to the same elements. A gun, secondly, a gun in the hands of someone who should not have it, and then 3, a horrible, tragic, and sometimes deadly decision. And as we have seen on numerous occasions, even when police were in the immediate vicinity, within earshot, within visual contact of the incident, more police do not solve the problem. We need stronger gun laws and tougher prosecution and imprisonment for those who choose to engage in gun violence. I certainly recognize the city of Savannah as a part of the system. However, we are the entry point. The Savannah Police Department, I think, is doing an admirable job investigating and making their arrest. But then they go on to a prosecutorial and a court system and a correction system. And so we have to tighten those things up. I'm in favor of doing all we can in this, but we all remain in this together. And you get tired of this week after week. And although we're reminded that there are so many cities that have it way worse, for us, this hits home. And so if we're willing and want to do differently, we have to be willing to do differently. And as I said before, we cannot allow guns to be everywhere and then be mad when guns show up everywhere. And so I'm calling again on our local legislation to lead the way, local delegation to lead the way in Atlanta, to push for stronger laws. Again, not infringing on those who legally have them, but making sure police can adequately and appropriately and aggressively investigate those who should not have them. And a reminder to residents around our city that they also play a role in this. And the role they play is to lock their cars, secure their weapons. Many of the weapons that are appearing in some of these scenes are stolen weapons, taken from the homes of people who sometimes carelessly leave them where people can find them. Do not leave guns in your glove compartment. Do not leave guns in your console. Don't leave guns underneath your seat. And oftentimes when young people are breaking into homes, they're not looking for TVs anymore, they're looking for guns. So again, do all you can to make sure you secure them. I also want to send out a special and thank you and shout out to President Kimberly Ballard Washington and Savannah State University for hosting a safe and successful homecoming celebration this weekend. Savannah State wanted to modify their homecoming festivities in the interest of public safety and student health, so they held their homecoming parade on Friday on campus, and they held their game with limited attendance and limited tailgating activities. And so I had the opportunity to be present at these activities, and I think they did a great job, and I applaud them for proactively planning and working to protect their students and limit community spread of COVID-19. And we look forward to a larger celebration next year. Chatham County's COVID-19 metrics continue to trend down. Our community transmission index has dropped by 202 cases per 100,000 since October the 1st. We are still sitting at 231 cases per 100,000, which is still considered high community spread, although we continue to see fewer and fewer cases. Our 7-day rolling average of new cases is below 40 for the first time since July, and our percentage of positive tests dropped 2.3% from October the 1st to October the 8th. So that means we're doing better, but it means we're not there yet as well. 51% of Chatham County residents are now fully vaccinated, and 56% have had at least one dose. Again, slowly getting better, but we're not there yet. After meeting with my medical advisory team last week and the city manager, I announced new COVID-19 guidelines for events beginning November the 1st. Large outdoor events within the city limits will be allowed without capacity limits. Public events inside city facilities will be permitted at 60% capacity, and masks are still required in city-owned buildings. We are also looking forward to welcoming the Savannah City Council back in person by the first meeting in November. And so Mr. Melder and the Team Savannah are working ways to prepare for our return, details to come about where, but I think we are ready to be back in person really for the first time for council business since March of 2020. And it's probably, we have to check, probably the longest in history, in our history, that a council has not met in chambers. The 2021 Savannah Rock and Roll Marathon will continue as planned on November the 6th and November the 7th, with additional COVID precautions to limit interaction among runners. These precautions require that all runners provide proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test within 72 hours of their race. And so we trust that Ironman will do what they said they're going to do, and we will verify that they're doing what they said they're going to do. After that, our community will have to have a courageous conversation about the Rock and Roll Marathon. It's been several years now, and to see if it's still meeting our needs both in terms of community and both financially. So we will have those conversations soon after. And as people are making plans for Halloween, please keep in mind that the Savannah Police Department Chief Mentor are recommending trick-or-treating on Saturday, October the 30th from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. And we received a lot of calls about Halloween. Everybody's asking about Halloween. Folks, remember, this is only a recommendation. Don't beat up Chief Mentor because they're recommending trick-or-treating on October the 30th from 5 to 8. We get it. This is not about trick-or-treating. It's about the Georgia-Florida game. We know that. And so if you don't want to do it on October the 30th, fine. Then do it on the 31st. And again, for me, I think I'm going to do it both days. The city is prepared to assist, and so we'll be doing ours on the 30th. We will give candy to trick-or-treaters in a safe way from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. on October the 30th at the Grant, W.W. Law, Tompkins, Eastside, and Windsor Forest Community Centers. So at halftime, you can come and get some candy. Savannah Police Department is also hosting several Halloween events throughout the city that will be open to the community. On Friday, October the 29th, the Northwest Precinct will host a trick-or-treat event, including fun games and candy at their location, 602 East Lathrop Avenue from 6 to 8 p.m. I've heard you can go and dunk the chief, so I'll be looking forward to that opportunity. Eastside Precinct will be partnering with multiple community organizations for a trunk or treat event between 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Friday at Daffin Park. Central Precinct officers will come to a neighborhood near you as they drive the big SPD mobile command bus to give out candy and special SPD swag on Saturday, October the 30th during trick-or-treat hours. And October 31st, Southside Precinct officers will visit Halloween events at Trimble Park from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. and Kensington Park to pass out candy. Community members are encouraged to wear a mask at each event as SPD adheres to COVID-19 recommendations. Savannah Police Chaplain Charles Roberson, the pastor of Kingdom Life Christian Fellowship, is hosting a fall festival and COVID vaccine clinic on October the 31st from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. at 425 West Montgomery Crossroads. And this fall festival will include games, giveaways, including iPads, computers, and bicycles for youth, entertainment, and vaccinations provided by J.C. Lewis Primary Health Care. The Savannah Police Mounted Patrol and Recruiting Unit will also be in place, so you can come and see our four-legged officers. And for more information, you can call the church office at 912-921-5346, 912-921-5346. Last week, I was excited to join City Manager Jay Melder, Chief Mentor, and our police department as we announced the return of the Police Athletic and Activities League, commonly known as PAL. And so the department is accepting applications for PAL basketball, which starts practices in early 2022. And they're also looking for volunteer coaches. So for people who want to help, this is your opportunity to help. And you can find applications and additional information on the Savannah Police Department's website, savannahpd.org, savannahpd.org in the outreach section. Applications are also available at the Tompkins Center, the W.W. Law Community Center, the West Broad Street YMCA, the John S. Delaware Center, the Windsor Forest Community Center, the Park, and the Grant Center. In council business last week, we awarded a $2.8 million construction contract to rebuild the Hudson Hill Community Center. And I'm excited about that project, obviously, as I shepherded that project as the first district alderman. The building shifted and the building had to be demolished for safety concerns. We were able to secure insurance funds and general funds from 2018 to replace it. So this will be 5-6 times more in terms of price and 1,000 feet larger. So it will be better and new, improved. And again, we expect to start construction this month and finish in the next 10 months. So I'm excited about that. It's been 3 long years. We also got an update on the Fairground property from Mr. Melder, who hopes to have a recommendation for council to consider at our next meeting. We also adopted the Housing Savannah Action Plan by a 6-3 vote. Again, affordable housing is an important part of our community as we look at poverty eradication and economic self-sufficiency. And we recognize that enough people in our community don't have places in which to live. We recognize that housing must be available, affordable, and accessible. It has to be all of those things at the same time. And so Savannah has never had a housing action plan to move us in the direction of where we need to be. And so I'm grateful for the 6 council members who voted to support that. Again, I just think that this gets us to where we need to be. Every single day we delay means that there are people who don't have opportunities to have a roof over their head, have an affordable roof over their head, have an accessible roof over their head, have a quality roof over their head. So I'm happy and appreciative for that. And the council also approved the city's 2040 comprehensive plan, also by a 6-3 vote. Again, recognizing that this plan is necessary for federal opportunities, also funding opportunities, and are also required for some of the things that we want to do in terms of legislation. So again, grateful for that. And I appreciate the work of the Housing Savannah Task Force, particularly that of retired city manager, assistant city manager Israel Small, and the United Way Executive Director Brent Grant, and the 39 individuals who gave up their time and their talent and their effort during a pandemic to deliver this plan, our first ever. And certainly to Ms. Melanie Wilson and to the good folks at the MPC for making sure that our community was engaged throughout this process. We were also very happy to announce that, as we knew, that the Savannah Fire Department earned the re-accredited agency status with the Commission on Fire Accreditation International for meeting the established criteria through the CFAI's voluntary self-assessment and accreditation program. Now get this, Savannah Fire is one of 112 departments in the entire nation, 112. There are 500 cities in Georgia. We're one of 112 in the nation with both ISO Class 1 status and CFAI International accreditation. About 250 agencies have achieved international accredited agency status with the CFAI and the Center for Public Safety Excellence. And so as a ISO Class 1 accredited fire department with a CFAI endorsement, Savannah Fire ranks in the top 0.004% of the nation's 29,705 fire departments. Now I'm gonna say that again. Of the 29,705 fire departments in our country, the Savannah Fire Department is in the top 0.004%. So for us, that's something to brag on. And for our residents, when we're talking about fire service, we're talking about our residents receiving the absolute best. Yes, it is expensive. It's expensive to have these accreditations because they require work and it requires investment on our part. And we could actually go the cheaper route, but for us, we prefer quality at all times. And so our residents, who we feel are the best, deserve the best fire service, and they have that. So congratulations to Chief Derek Menard and the men and women of Savannah Fire. We call them Savannah's bravest, and we are so proud of them. We also approved an honorary street designation in honor of John Alliston White Sr., Savannah's first black police officer and the first black law enforcement officer in the state of Georgia. Lieutenant White served the city for 37.5 years and is the last remaining survivor of the original 9 black police officers who integrated the Savannah Police Department in 1947. Lieutenant White, that many may not know, was one of the first black Marine Corps corpsmen in the nation. They were known as Montfort Point Marines, and so he's made history there as well. The commemorative Lieutenant John White Avenue is located among Buhan Avenue between Wheaton Street and Reed Court, and so we're looking forward to celebrating that day with him. Mayor Pro Tem and 5th District Alderwoman Estella Shabazz and Chatham County Commissioner Tanya Milton will hold listening sessions focused on transportation improvement projects on Thursday, October the 21st. And these listening sessions will be from 4:30 to 5:30 and 6:15 to 7:15 at the Liberty City Community Center, 1401 Millsby Lane Boulevard. And topics will include street paving and traffic flow improvements, sidewalk connections, additions, and other improvements, intersection and safety enhancements, bike path and trail redevelopment, and regional transportation challenges. Finally, I will hold my 2021 State of the City address virtually on Wednesday, October the 27th at 7 p.m. The public can view the live address on the City of Savannah's Facebook page, YouTube, and of course the award-winning SGTV Channel 8. So that's all for me, and I will entertain any questions you may have.
Good morning, how are you?
Good morning, how are you?
So as far as the shootings, you mentioned that you want to push for stronger laws and getting people who are acting on these crimes off the streets and, other things that you think could help with the shootings. But what are you all as a city doing to step in and intervene?
What is the city doing? We're out there every single day. We're going hard in the paint as hard as we can. In the end, again, the shooting at the Jennifer Ross complex, there were officers there. And that's the point. When people say, well, you're not doing enough. The fact of the matter is, and I've said before, Chief Mentor is right there. If I wanted to shoot you right now, I could. Now, he'll catch me, but the fact it doesn't stop me from shooting you. And so for us, it's really about getting in the neighborhoods. And again, these are not kids, these are adults that are making dumb decisions, stupid decisions, deadly decisions with a gun. When I was growing up, we made dumb decisions, but we fought it out and we lived to fight another day. And so for us, it's again, making sure that we keep drawing attention to it. Much to the chagrin probably of city staff, I'm at these scenes. I try to go to every single one of them because it's important that this is not business as usual. It's important that people see at least that my office, that I'm personally engaged and involved, I'm in the moment. And so I think we're doing that. Obviously, we're engaged in POW. Our officers have great detective work. We have one of the highest clearance rates in the state, maybe in the nation. We're over 80%. If you do a crime here, we're probably going to catch you. But that doesn't stop the fact that it's happened. So, obviously I think that we could do some more in terms of technology, and so the city manager will hopefully be bringing us a budget to help us really make better use of cameras and artificial intelligence and those things that are a little bit more predictive in nature. We have to spread that out across the community, but we know the best intelligence is always human intelligence. And so I say to people, and I've said to young people, I've said to older people, I mean, you know who these folks are, and you know if they have beef with somebody, it does not stop somebody from getting in the middle, man, let that go. You know, dear, let that go. Let's not have that. You know, let it go, put some space in between that anger and that decision. That's all hands on deck. And so we're all in, but we also recognize it's not only our responsibility. We also recognize it's not only our obligation, because we're part of a system. So when we arrest someone and they go into that system, we don't control how they come out. And again, I say it again, I mean, I think that our prosecutorial friends and our judicial friends, they're having difficult choices they have to make. But I implore them publicly that if you're doing violent crime in our city, a gun-related crime, a deterrent is making sure that the penalties are swift and they are severe. That's how you stop it, which is why people don't want to deal with the federal system when it comes to violent crime or drugs, because they recognize that the penalties for being convicted of a federal crime are severe. It makes no sense that people who commit violent crime could be back out in the streets. It just, you know, so, I mean, we'll do our part. We're a part of that discussion. I'm not going to finger point or blame, but I'm saying we're part of the solution. So I think we're doing as much as we can. We've just instituted PAL again. Again, we're going to the granular level, but again, at the end of the day, it comes down to a decision.
And specifically with the shooting near City Market, which is a high tourist attraction for people, have you all thought of maybe looking to close the area down on some days during the weekends earlier, or what have you all thought about?
No, I think in the end, people have to live. But again, you go right back to what I was saying, is that, well, people are walking around. I mean, there are people walking down that are carrying in plain view. You know, closing it down to people, I think defeats the purpose. I think in a civilized community, we cannot let violence win. We cannot let hate win. And so, you know, I trust that, you know, we will continue to engage all of the safety protocols we can to keep people safe. But I think on the other end of it, it's also personal responsibility of all of us to ensure that people are safe. So I'm not recommending any changes to our area. This is a city market, is a great place for our visitors and our residents to enjoy. And I'm not going to let the entire community suffer because of people who do stupid stuff.
And then as far as with the vaccination, it's a program that you all announced for city employees. Do you have an update on that? How many employees are not vaccinated? Maybe with the thought of that program that's starting?
I don't, but I hope to have one by next week. We would actually be pretty good at really estimating it, because if you're going to have both shots by November 15th, by this week, you should have your first shot. So I think by next week I should have, and make sure we have that. We should have really a good idea of where we're going to end up on November the 15th. Obviously, across the country, there's been a lot of talk. The alarm is going off. There's been a lot of talk of other cities regarding mandates and all of those things, and so we're watching those as well.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, on that scene, going back to the shooting, there were so many kids out there, and I know, you came to the scene. And I took a call from a mother yesterday, and she was just talking about, at all of these scenes, we kind of hear the same thing, what the community needs to do, getting the guns off the streets. But she wanted to know what you thought about what healing looks like for the community. Now we have so many kids traumatized. They heard the gunshots, they had to evacuate. So what does healing for the community look like?
Well, healing with the community look like is what I did the day after. Went back and met with those young men, some of them, the football team, bringing counselors to bear. You know, it is a traumatic event, not only for children but for adults. Some people have never heard gunshots in real time before. And so getting involved on that side of it, on the therapeutic part, intervention I think is absolutely critical and necessary. I understand the county also has employed counselors to come and work with these young men. They have now a crisis line to help young people who are having issues, and I think the parents need to avail themselves of it. Young people need to be able to talk about that. Again, healing is something that we have to do community-wide. Throughout our community, throughout our nation, we're being bombarded by traumatic events. And so healing involves being present again in the moment, letting our young people know that they're special and that they are safe. We have a responsibility to protect young people. On the flip side about that, it also reminds them that, remember how you feel right now. And when you have the opportunity to walk away from a potentially violent incident, do so. And so I think we use the tragic moments as teaching moments, and hopefully the lessons sink in.
Now, going back to city council, going back to me in person, you guys have met in person in over a year. So why now, and what do you think are the COVID protocols that are going to be implemented?
Why now is because our numbers say that we can. We were going to do it early, if you remember, then our numbers started spiking up. So I think now we're saying that with over 50% of our population now vaccinated, everyone having the opportunity to be vaccinated, the city manager rolling out various opportunities for city facilities to be open at a limited capacity. It is time. I mean, the fact is, Zoom has been incredibly convenient, incredibly helpful, but that's not the way we do business. And so as we transition back into what our new normal is, it's important for the council to have the opportunity to meet in public and meet in the space that we're supposed to meet in. Now, what does that look like? We don't know in terms of whether it'll be here, whether it'll be somewhere else, but that will be a perfect precursor for our budget sessions, which will be later on in November. And again, we have to be able to show that we're getting better. So hopefully all of our council members are vaccinated, and hopefully we'll be able to, meet here in the space that's designated for us. So I'm excited about that opportunity.
And I know it's a little early, but do you know anything about whether the Bull Street Christmas parade might happen this year?
The what?
The Christmas parade?
Our plans is that right now anyone who requests a permit with the proper conditions is going to be approved. So it is a little early. We're still talking about Halloween, but if our numbers continue on the downward trend, by December we should be in real good shape. I'm hoping we are. Thank you.
Good morning.
Hey, sir, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
So, with our COVID numbers trending down, we are inching towards events where people will gather, starting with Halloween and the holidays after that. So, what would be your message to the community as we head into this time of the year?
We're not out of it yet. Children are particularly vulnerable under 12 because they cannot be vaccinated at this time. So I think it's important that, again, the best way for parents to protect their children is for them to be vaccinated, number one. Number two, that we have to still encourage washing hands, encourage keeping distance, and encourage wearing masks. And so, although I'm vaccinated, most times I'm pretty good about it. I just wear it as a precaution. Again, as you know, these viruses mutate and they're different strands, and so we recognize that people have to continue to try to be safe.
Sure, and I want to ask, to our south right now, the jury selection for the Mon Artery trial is starting. I'm just wondering your thoughts as this is happening to our neighboring county and community.
Well, this is Glenn County is a part of our coastal partners, and so we're thinking about them. The national spotlight is on that community, One of our Superior Court judges, Judge Walmsley, is presiding in that case. So obviously we're thinking about him as well. The entire world is watching. This is one of these critical moments. And although I won't add any personal commentary, I just hope they get it right. I hope that they pick a jury who can fairly evaluate the evidence in an unbiased way and render a decision. And I think that, well, I'll leave that alone. I just think that, you know, and wherever the decision lies, that we will act as a civilized society. So again, we're thinking about our friends down in Glenn County and the county seat of Brunswick.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? The only other thing I wanted to just kind of mention, we've been hearing some things about people saying about football and soccer at the Jennifer Ross complex. It's important for us not to let hate and evil win. We know that football had nothing to do with what occurred there. What occurred there was adults making bad decisions. And so to try to attempt to hold kids responsible for the dumb actions of adults that not even related to the game, you know, make things very, very, very difficult. So I don't want us to be knee-jerk. Certainly don't want us to be punitive. And I think that we hopefully look at it for what it was, a very unfortunate incident. I think that the county will do what they said they were going to do in terms of ensuring better security. This is their facility. And so I think they're already working on that. But at the end of the day, also Savannah residents are county taxpayers too. And so obviously we're working together as recreation and leisure departments to provide services for a plethora of city sports, and we do that. We host county activities at city parks. We need to continue to work together. But at the end of the day, it's about the kids. It's about the kids, and obviously, you know, people say I don't feel safe. Well, the statistics say they are safe. And this could have happened here, it could have happened anywhere in the country. And particularly when you have the types of gun laws that we have. And again, I go to plenty of games, plenty of events where I see people walking around open carry. Every time you see that, you see an opportunity for something to happen with a gun. And that's just the truth. We cannot let evil win. We cannot let violence win. We have to continue to build character for our young people through sports, and this is a way that that happens. They have an opportunity to be mentored, which is why we're engaged in PAL, because we recognize sports builds character. It helps also to deal with issues of aggression, and it also puts mentors in young people's lives. And so football is no different than soccer. They're sports, and young people play them, and we love all of them, whether they're soccer players or whether they're football players, or win, lose, or draw. And we have to continue to support them in this city and this county, and I trust and hope that the county will do that. Have a great day.